more questions, I'd like to introduce another guest who's joining us on the broadcast, Ambassador Sushil Singhal, a former diplomat. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. A very good morning to you. Ambassador, obviously we are seeing yet another, this is a racist cartoon by a Norwegian newspaper. How are you looking at these things coming out of Norway at a time when the two countries and the two leaders are talking about increasing their cooperation?
Very clear sign how Norwegian media is ignorant about India, and what they are trying to depict. This is the second incident. First incident, of course, we all know about it. That these people are not able to digest India's rights. And what they are trying to do is, in my view, trying to show their supremacy, that they are superior to us. And the developing countries have to follow what they prescribe. And the countries like India, who are rising in the global scene, they want to tell them that, you have to follow our instructions or our setup. Then only you will be member of that country. This is actually a very old colonial type of, thinking, which is playing in their mind. When these journalists, depicting India as a snake charmer, that shows that, they have not read anything, they have not seen anything. Tomorrow we can also show how the Norwegians were when they were Vikings, what they were, just looting everybody, killing everybody. There's no end to all this kind of conversation. We are talking today when they are, when the Prime Minister is visiting, you are bestowing on the back, the highest award on the Prime Minister. And you're trying to show that, as if, we are very, very inferior to you, and we follow their instruct. I was repeating here, that the democracy, or whatever they call it, we all know what is happening in Nordic countries, the kind of hate crimes which are going. They're closing their borders to others, and then on the top of it, they want assistance from India, countries like India, because India is the biggest market in the world at this moment. So all the companies, their companies and their government want to be seen in the good terms with India, as we have seen in this conversation which has happened, the kind of agreement we have signed. And also there's a Nordic Council meeting which took place, where they want Indian assistance, Indian capabilities in India's skilled labor. So these journalists which they are writing is just, in my view, is nothing but their sick mentality which they have, and they just want to gain some TRP in their system. But what I see is they don't have any basic decency. How to talk to a leader and how to interact even, because they just want to impose their will, and they feel that they are the ultimate guardian of democracy, human rights, or press freedom. How many agencies they have in their own country? India, Delhi alone has more than 300 channels. Just imagine the sheer numbers we are talking about. And they talk about the press freedom, where they cannot question anybody by just shouting and not allowing others outside to put their views. They can consider it a way of press freedom. It's very unfortunate, in my view, that what they are doing, and I think they are a disservice to the journalism.
Absolutely. Ambassador, I'll request you to stay on with us. Let me rope in Joyita Basu again into this discussion. Joyita ma'am, I want to understand, where is this sense of superiority actually coming from? Like you mentioned, the population is not there. The press freedom index, you are not, this is based on an organization, Reporters Without Borders. It's not transparent how they are giving out these rankings. I want to understand, should Aftenposten in fact apologize firstly before this, and if India and if the Indian media does something similar, there will be a huge, hue and cry about it. So I do not understand, ma'am, where is this superiority coming from? Depicting the Prime Minister, the head of a state, the Prime Minister, in fact, as a snake charmer.
No, that is the problem with them, I mean, okay, the thing is that you want to take pot shots at the Prime Minister, fine, you take a pot shot, because that you will say that it is our freedom of expression. Fine, if you want to exercise freedom of expression, but what can't you do it without being racist, without being nasty, and the thing is that the very fact that you are, unless that is your sole purpose, the only problem, what they don't realize is that by depicting the Indian Prime Minister like that, the Prime Minister who is representing the country, you are taking pot shots at the whole country, at the whole of India. You are, I would say, painting Indians in the worst kind of color. And that is what exactly they are doing. This is not just about the Prime Minister. This is about the whole country, and whoever has done this, it has come from a sense of what I said, superiority, and it's like, how dare you come to our high table? This is the typical arrogance, which I would describe as arrogant nonsense, which the Western world has, the Western part of the world, and this is a very typical white people's behavior, racist white, I would say, because I personally know. I mean, we all know, people who are white but who are not racist, nice, good people. The problem that happens, the skin color thing comes up, unfortunately, because when some of these people behave like that, it is that, bada sab behavior. We also have seen, white Indian independence, we have fought a long and arduous and bloody war of independence for, almost over a century, almost. So we know, it is that same Gora Loka, we are superior, you guys should be confined in cages, dogs and Indians not allowed. That mind. That is the colonial, that mindset of the 18th and 19th century, I would say. That mindset is very much there. How dare you come to our table? How dare you try to find a place on the high table? Remember that New York Times cartoon, and this had nothing to do with Mr. Modi, by the way. This was in the time of Manmohan Singh, that there is this Indian farmer with a cow and standing outside and banging on that door, which is, there are two men, very upper class men smoking cigars and all. It's that same mindset. And it's sad that there are still people in the West who think like this. But then I think increasingly it is looking like, I think these people who think like this, they outnumber the same nice people we know.
Right, absolutely. In fact, Ambassador, I want to rope you again into this conversation. Do you believe that these kind of people even understand the kind of culture, the kind of history that India actually has, and the kind of progress that India is making in today's world? I mean, half of the world is affected by the West Asia crisis, and India seems to be the only one growing at a good growth rate. They are, preventing all the, fallacies from affecting the public. So, do these people even understand India as a country, Ambassador?
They do not know what they're talking about and whom they're talking about, and the way they are behaved. I will not paint everybody in the same brush, but some of these individuals who claim to be journalists or with the votary of the press freedom, they do not have any understanding of India. India is much bigger than whole Europe. And the diversity which India has is much more than entire Europe. Forget Norway. Norway is a small, dot on the map of the world. So they think that, first of all, they don't know anything about India, but because they are white, and they are feeling that, why India is being given so much of importance. Because if you remember, in 2003, we told these countries, Nordic countries particularly, that thank you very much, we don't need your aid. And they were very frustrated because they love to lecture. And that is why India said, stop taking any bilateral aid with them. They will give you $10-20 million, and then they give lectures to us on everything, and how to run the country. So these people, they have such a complex in their mind that they have, they claim that they, feel rather that they have a right to lecture everybody about these things, be it human rights, be it, press freedom, be it minority. Which country in the world, do they understand the concept of minority? What is the minority and how minority is living in India? This is the only country. India is the only country when after independence the minority share in the population has increased. Look at anywhere in the world. One example. I would like to know from these people. So they do not have any understanding of India, how India functions, how Indian democracy functions, how the press functions in India. Can they ask this kind of questions to President Trump? He will just kick them out. Our Prime Minister, he was not bothered because they are too small a guy to work responding. But had it been President Trump, how he would have behaved? Just look how he behaves in the White House with the journalists. And there is no problem to be treated the way their leaders and they are being treated. They don't raise a voice at all. So this is something which, they need to ponder themselves, that where they have gone, and they have to accept India's rights and our systems. We are under no obligation to follow their system or their so-called principles or their morality. And we are not looking for any acceptance or endorsement from these people. This is very important for them to understand. Ultimately, every country has its own way of functioning, and India is doing everything much better than these countries. They have to understand. It's nothing but their frustration.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Joyata Basu, I also want to understand from your perspective. All right. I believe we're moving on to some other stories, but I thank you, Joyata and Ambassador.